Number 10 North is going to be a really important part of the governmental future. In terms of the door, the cat, visitors to that building will often want their picture taken. The number 10 door is one of the most iconic things in the UK, and to have a replica there is a symbol that this is part of the power structure of the UK.
So people can post on Instagram?
So that people who visit the building can realise they are, even though they're in Manchester, they're at the heart of UK government decision making. There are real responsibilities there. There is going to be real power there.
Parliament starts up again next week. The Prime Minister is taking the opportunity of a break to get around the country and outline his ambition to drive growth in every postcode. He is in Wales today. Yesterday he was in a Sainsbury's in London with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and the Work and Pension Secretary, Pat McFadden. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning.
It's good to speak to you, and we will talk about what you and the Prime Minister are up to in just a moment. But can I ask about Nepal, first of all, where at least 33 UK tourists are missing? How is the government supporting efforts to find them?
Well, this is an appalling tragedy. I think anyone who saw the pictures on television last night will have been struck by the awesome power of nature as that wall of water and mud flowed through the area. As you say, the picture is not completely clear yet. The Nepalese authorities have said that 160 people have been killed, but there are many, many more than that missing, and that's just what we've heard from the Nepalese side of the border. We haven't really had figures from the Chinese side of the border. In terms of missing Britons, my colleague, the Foreign Secretary, Ed Miliband, has posted on social media phone numbers that people can call for further information. We are working as closely as we can with the Nepalese authorities. Consular assistance is available to families, but it's a fast-moving picture. We don't have a full picture yet of the numbers missing, and we will do everything we can to help the Nepalese authorities find them and to support the families of those who are missing.
Yeah, thank you for addressing that. Let's turn to matters here in the UK directly. Now, under Sir Keir Starmer, we know that every meeting you had revolved around the question, who can we tax in order to pay benefits to others? Are you finding now that your colleagues are asking different questions to that?
I think they've been doing that for some time. I think we have a different conversation about the welfare system now because we're trying to answer a different question. The way that I've put it is we need to move from a question simply asking about benefit entitlement to a question that asks how can we help you live the fullest life. And that means putting work and opportunity at the heart of what we're doing. That's what the Prime Minister and I were doing yesterday in Sainsbury's with some colourful pictures of us stacking the bread shelves. And today announcing the first results from our Youth Jobs Guarantee. And I visited young people yesterday in Boots in Nottingham getting their first jobs through our Youth Jobs Guarantee, sometimes after being out of work for 2, 3, 4 years. And it was a really powerful statement to me and to everyone of the difference it can make to a young person's life by getting them into work. These were people whose confidence had been low, they'd lost belief in themselves, but now, having worked in some cases only for a few weeks, they had changed. They had much more belief in themselves in the future. So what we're doing through the Youth Jobs Guarantee and the other things that we're trying to do to help young people, yes, it's an economic policy and it's a labour market policy, but it's also about hope.
Yeah. The Prime Minister's in South Wales today, and in parts of South Wales, over 20% of working age adults are out of the labour market due to long-term sickness. This is an area that needs more urgent action from you. It needs to be more than just a conversation. It needs to be more than a colourful photo for people in these particular parts of the country.
Of course, that's absolutely right. And for far too long, the system has simply signed people off and written them off. And we're addressing that in a number of ways. From April this year, we've reduced the gap between standard unemployment benefit and the health top-up that people get. And we did that in two ways. We We reduced the additional money that people get on the health side, but we also increased for the very first time in a long, long time the standard rate of unemployment benefit. And that gap has to some extent been a driver of the picture that we're seeing at the moment. So we are changing that, and that's come in from April. And on the support side, we are putting a lot of investment into employment support for long-term sick and disabled people, because I don't believe that once somebody has been judged unfit for work once, we should give up on them. And it's really remarkable that we've asked people in this situation to come forward for the first time in many years to see if they want help getting work. And it's remarkable this wasn't happening before, but it is happening now, and tens of thousands have come forward. So both on the support side and on the incentive side, we're making changes to the system.
So tens of thousands come forward in that context. We'll be speaking to the Royal College of Nursing in half an hour. They say that the government's graduate guarantee for graduate nurses, which was launched last year, is failing. Their students' committee say that some graduates from 2024 still aren't finding roles. They're still awaiting their first nursing job. So what more can you be doing for nurses?
Well, on graduate employment as a whole, there's been a lot about this in the news in recent weeks. We've had the GCSE results, the A-level results and so on, and quite a lot of survey reports in the last few weeks. On the whole, the UK is in a healthy position. The latest figures show that 88% of graduates are in good employment or in further education 5 years after they graduate. That's above the EU average, but there is, in recent terms, I think, some international evidence that life is becoming tougher for some graduates getting jobs, not just here, but in the United States as well. The New York Federal Reserve has issued reports on this. And in fact, in the US, the latest figures show that graduate unemployment is running ahead of unemployment for the population as a whole for new graduates. So there's an international issue here, which I think we have to be very alive to. And whether it's graduates or non-graduates, we want, through our youth guarantee measures, to try to do everything we can to help young people into work.
If I may, let's turn to some of the other issues in the news this morning. And this settlement from Meta, after Meta was accused of designing a platform that was too addictive for children, and the measures they will now be forced to take to try to keep children, or keep children's use of their platforms under control. Are the US now going further to keep children safe on Meta's platforms than the UK's Online Safety Act?
You know, you say turn to other issues. In some ways, I think there's a link between yesterday's judgment and maybe some of the issues that I'm dealing with as Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, when I look at the number of young people who are suffering from mental health problems, severe lack of confidence, severe anxiety. And so I think there may be a link here. And we've acted in this country through the Online Safety Act to take action against these companies. You'll remember we faced up to Grok and Elon Musk last year in some of the things that were going on there. We are pressing ahead with nighttime curfews and with a ban for social media access for under 16s, as has been enacted in one or two other countries too. So again, a bit like your question about graduate unemployment, I think this is very much an international issue, and I think it's related to a broader question about what is a healthy childhood. What do we want to do to support young people so that when they grow up, they leave school or college, they have the confidence to go out in the world, get a job, make a future for themselves. So in some ways, all of these policies are part of the same picture.
Yeah, so I suppose that one of the key differences is that the US settlement puts more of an onus on parental supervision, whereas in the UK, the EU and Australia, there's independent regulators to be the enforcers. And I just wonder if we're going to see a difference in effectiveness of these different approaches.
Well, look, you have to see how these things pan out. You're right that we do believe in a world of regulation of these companies. We don't believe they should operate in a lawless manner, and they're incredibly powerful. these companies, and the technology can be incredibly addictive. So I think it's a question for governments around the world, whether it's the US, the EU, or Australia, or here in the UK, is how do we look there? In some ways, there are great positives from this technology. Young people can find out about things, they can research history, they can help with study. It's not all negative, but there is a negative side to it. And I think there's a duty upon governments, regulators, people in positions of authority to ask themselves, how can we make sure children have the positive side of this without suffering the detriment of some of the negative side that goes along with it?
Yeah. Can I just ask about Number 10 North as well, where you've spent £1,000 on a replica Number 10 door that will be an ornament, or indeed a adornment, inside Number 10 North, alongside a cardboard cutout of Larry the Cat, I understand. Can you just justify that expense to our listeners?
I think Number 10 North is going to be a really important part of the governmental future. In terms of the door, the cat, visitors to that building will often want their picture taken. The Number 10 door is one of the most iconic things in the UK, and to have a replica there is a symbol that this is part of the power structure of the UK.
So people can post on Instagram?
So that people who visit the building can realise they are, even though they're in Manchester, they're at the heart of UK government decision making. There are real responsibilities there. There is going to be real power there, and I think that will benefit the UK.
But it's a fake door.
It is. It's a. As I say, it's a part of the design of the building, which is intended to signal to people that they are, even though they're in Manchester, they're still part of Number 10, still part of the heart of decision making in the UK. And as you know, that door is every visitor to this country, every foreign prime minister, every person who comes to Number 10 for any reason always wants their picture taken at the door. I've seen this myself in politics over many years.
Okay. Can I express one disappointment I have this morning, Mr. McFadden? It's that you're not wearing your Sainsbury's fleece while we have this conversation, which I thought suited you.
Thank you very much. Yesterday took me back to my teenage years when I used to work in Glasgow in a number of supermarkets stacking the shelves. I worked in Fine Fare, which is a chain which no longer exists. I worked night shift in the Co-op in Shawlands, stacking the shelves to make sure they were nice for the customers coming in the next morning. These are great early jobs for teenagers and young people, and I really pay tribute to Sainsbury's for creating 10,000 work experience placements to help young people get out of that bind of no experience and no job. And it was that we were at Sainsbury's yesterday, stacking the bread shelves in a semi-competent manner.
Well, you were so competent, people thought you worked there. That's the point.
Well, I think we've given the caption writers some fun and some opportunity. Let's see what they do with it.
Pat McFadden, thank you very much indeed. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Pat McFadden's the Work and Pensions Secretary.
Whateley, the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, who joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you agree with what Pat McFadden is saying there, that there is a connection between social media and the employment of young people?
I would say that Pat McFadden is probably trying to distract from the real problem with unemployment for young people, where we've now got over 1 million NEETs under this government. And what's going on there? Well, the government has put up taxes on businesses, which has particularly hit young people, particularly made it more expensive to employ young people. And they've increased red tape with the Employment Rights Act. And I've talked to so many businesses who say to me that now they just can't afford to take the risk on employing a young person when they've got a choice of a more experienced hire or a young person. They're taking the more experienced person, coupled with a terrible lack of confidence amongst businesses, extra costs, for instance, high energy costs. So businesses are hiring less. So far fewer job vacancies at the moment. So the government's policies have actively destroyed jobs. They're giving us a lost generation. I think the government is just trying to distract from that, and that their actions are doing a huge amount of harm for young people.
And those are tax policies, economic policies, and you've talked a lot about those in the past and about the things that Conservatives would do differently. But I suppose I'm just wondering whether you do believe that there is a mental health element to this, and that some of this is about resilience maybe, and about how you would go about as a party helping better prepare young people for the workplace.
Yes, I mean, I have many conversations with young people and employers, and there's definitely a change between, say, a couple of decades ago about people coming forwards and saying they're really struggling with their mental health. A lot of people we know now going on to sickness benefits for instance, anxiety or because they're struggling with ADHD. And we, the Conservatives, have said we were going to stop that as being a route to getting onto sickness benefits because we know that is deterring people from looking to work. So we would reform that and say instead of being given cash for lower level mental health conditions, you're going to be given support. Because actually the crucial thing is to be supporting people who are struggling with their mental health to be able to get into work and then make something of their lives, as opposed to it's a disaster for young people to be written off on benefits in their late teens or early 20s. Now, it could end up being a lifetime of benefits rather than in work. That's an absolute disaster. The government is not taking action on that. We're saying you should reform that part of benefits, and hand in hand, as I said a moment ago, there should be more jobs.
Can I ask you finally about Meta? They have settled this case in America. At the moment, the restrictions they're adding for children will only apply in America, but there are those here who would like to see much more action to protect children online in this country. Would you welcome a similar case if Meta were not willing to implement those changes here of their own volition? Would you welcome a similar case to force social media companies to make those changes for children and teenagers here in the UK?
Teenage children, I definitely think that the social media giants need to step up and need to take action the way they can and only they can on making their services safer for children. So children, for instance, don't see harmful content, making them less addictive. But here in the UK, Kemi Badenoch has actually been leading the argument on this and really pushing for controls on access to social media for children, saying that actually what we've seen, and it's taken a long time for Facebook to actually sort of come to the table on this, that the social media giants have been really dragging their heels on this, and it's only when they're forced to take action that they will. So they need to be made to do that.
Okay, Helen Whateley, thank you very much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you very much.
She is the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary.